Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I have a really fun project for you today. Take a look at this quilt behind me. Isn't this a great quilt? Now this is an old block, a traditional old block, and it's a granny square block, but I have a new, quick, easy way for you to put this together, and I just think you're going to love it. So to make this project, what you're going to need is one packet of 2.5-inch strips, and we have used Tonga Treek's Batik Posy by Daniela Stout for Timeless Treasures. You're also going to need a pack of 2.5-inch white strips, and these are actually a batik fabric. So you know, batik's fabrics have a whole different feel, so these go right together. You're also going to need a little bit of border. Your inner border is going to come out of that pack of strips. Your outer border is a 6-inch border, and it's 1.25 yards. Your backing is a beautiful multicolored print. I just think it's gorgeous on there. And for that, you're going to need 4 3/4 yards. So to make this quilt, what we're going to do is we're going to do strip sets. Now, traditionally, the granny square quilt is pretty labor intensive because you've got to cut all these little 2.5-inch squares. Well, we're going to make that much easier by doing strip sets. We're going to need 2 different strip sets. And so our first strip is going to be 3 sets of color like this, and then a white one at the end. So we've got 3 sets like this with a white one. So we've got color, 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 white. And we're going to go ahead and sew these together. We're going to sew 1/4 inch right down the side. We're going to line these up. Now I'm using 1/4 inch and I'm lining up on the edge of my foot. Now if you don't have a 1/4 inch foot, you can use the edge of your foot. Just measure, make sure your needle is, on this machine I can move my needle back and forth, and so I've moved it so that I'm right along the edge at 1/4 inch, because you want these to match up. These are going to have to match up, and that's why we're doing strip sets. All right, so we're just going to sail along here and sew these together. Alrighty, now we're going to press these open, and this is going to be our first strip set. So I'm over here at the iron, and I am actually just going to press from the top, and I'm going to roll my iron back and forth. You want to make sure there's no creases or pleats in between these, and so I like to press from the top first, like this, because I want a nice flat top, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to make sure that my seams are going in the right direction, and it's like a little miracle they're all going the right way. I like to press them all going one direction like this, and they are. Like, I just turned that over and it was perfect. I'm feeling like, you know, I should buy a lottery ticket today or something. These are great. All right, so this is our first strip set right here. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I want to show you the second strip set because it's all made exactly the same way. It's 4 strips. But these 2 strips right here are flipped. So we're going to have a strip set where we have two colors, and then our white and our color. So that's just flipped. So this is the difference between the 2 right here. We've got color, white, color, color, and then we've got over here color, 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 white. So you're going to make 5 of each set, and then we're going to cut these into 2.5-inch strips. Now I'm just going to leave this folded in half. If you are, you know, not an experienced cutter, or if you're a little shy about doing this, don't fold them in half. Do them singly, one at a time. I'm actually going to fold both of these sets together like this, and I'm going to stack them. And you can see I've left a little room here to cut off my selvage edge. And I'm going to do that. Let me find my rotary cutter. And so I'm just going to lay this, ruler right on here like this, and I'm going to trim this and straighten up that edge. And then I'm just going to set my ruler in. Now, if you are right-handed, you're actually going to come from the other direction. But for me, this works perfectly. And I'm going to put these over here, and you're going to cut your whole, all your strip sets up just exactly the same way. So we'll just keep cutting, just like this. And you're going to finish your whole one all the way up. Now what we want to do is we want to separate these into 2 piles. So we have our color, color, white, color, and then the ones where the white color's at the end is going to be over here. So these go here. This goes here. See, this is actually the same one right here. I didn't want to confuse you there, so I'll flip that over. Just like that. So you're going to stack all your strips, and you're going to have lots of different strips and lots of different colors, and that's what we want, because when you put them together, you want to put them together all kinds of different colors together to make your block. Now I have 2 cut here, so mine are actually going to be the same on either end, but I think it'll work for the sake of this. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We have 2 of these this way and 2 this way. And you're going to need 4 to make your block. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our color up in the top, and then we're going to add this color right here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip this around and put this one here, and then we're going to flip this one all the way around and put this one here. And that makes our granny square block. So we're going to sew these together, and you're just going to match up your little seams, and we're going to sew all 4 of these together to make our square. I know you're probably thinking I've lost my mind about this moment, but it's going to work, I promise you. All right, so there's the first one right here. And I'm still going to make sure, I want to see these white squares going at an angle, cascading from top to bottom. So you want to make sure when you add them on that that's happening. And I'm going to sew across this, making sure my seams line up. And one more row, like this. Here we go. Whew, almost turned around, got myself turned around right there. Now I have several light strips in here, and ordinarily I wouldn't do that. I would pick a different strip that had more color in it, but because that's what I got going here, that's what we're getting. So I'm just going to sew down this one and make my block. Alrighty. Now we're going to press this open, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right. So this is the block we're looking at right here. Now this doesn't look very much like a granny square, but we're going to make it a granny square. I have several others of these blocks. You're going to sew all your blocks together like this. You're just going to sew a whole bunch of them, and then comes the magic. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these squares right here. Now let me move some of this off here. There we go. We're going to take these squares right here, and we are going to cut them diagonally right through the center, through the white squares, just like this. So I've got my ruler on here. I'm making sure it's lined up at every juncture, and I'm just going to cut across this. And you're going to do this to all your blocks. So then you're going to stack them over here like this, and we're going to cut a few more. And you want to use different, when you cut these, you're going to leave these mixed up as well. You don't want to sew the same 2 back together. You want to match them with a different set. So I'm going to cut one more. I keep saying one more, I know, but it's just one more. All right, here we go. Cutting here. All right. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take several different squares, and we're going to turn these around, and we're going to sew them back together this way. Now you want to audition. I have these 2 right here. I don't want those together, so I'm going to put a different color in here, like this one. See how that's better? And then I'll move this one over here, and then we'll put this one here, and that one has a center. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one right here and see if I get a different color in my center, which I should, because we want all these blocks to be different. We want it to look like we really spent some time piecing these blocks. Okay, so now we have this right here, and I'm going to put this one in here. All right, now see how that's going to go? That's our block. That's what we're going for right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew these 2 together over here, and these 2 together over here. And we're just going to sew straight down the side, and I'm going to lay this right here so I know where I'm going back to. And this one also, I'm just going to sew 1/4 inch right down the side. Match up my little seams. It's the matching up of these little seams that really makes it look like we spent a lot of time cutting little tiny pieces. And I love quilts that make it look like you worked so hard. Alrighty, here we go. Here's this one. All right. And now, and see, you can actually, once you get all your blocks cut, you can actually chain piece the whole thing. And I mean, this goes together so quickly. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to press these open, and then we're going to sew them together right down the center. So here's this one. Let me see how I lined up my seams. They look pretty good. There's that one. We'll see how this one. Hey, this one's pretty good too. Now, my rule on pretty good is that you look at it, if it bothers you like 3 times and your eye keeps going right to that, you know, what you consider to be a mistake, then you fix it. But if it doesn't, if you have to search to find it, let it go, let it go. Finished is better than perfect. All right, so now see, did you see what I just did right there? I folded these right on top of each other, just like this, just like that. We're going to sew them right down the side. All right, line up my 1/4 inch. Make sure those seams are lining up. Now sometimes if you have one that's just a little bit bigger on one side, you can just kind of fudge it and make sure it works. There we go. But that's where your 1/4 inch matters. If your 1/4 inch is good, you're not going to have any of those problems where it's like just a little bit off. You won't have any of those. All right, so I'm going to press this now. And it's so cute. And this is our granny square block. Now, traditionally, these blocks end up with whole white triangles all the way around them, and you have to trim them. When you trim them, you're able to keep your 1/4 inch. You're going to lose that 1/4 inch on our block. Our block is a gentler granny. Let's look at it. So see right here, you're going to lose your points doing it this way. But I think that the technique is so cool that it lends itself to just giving it a try, you know, if you don't mind losing some of those points. So then what I did to put it together, let me just show you. So I took a block like this, I measured my block, and then I cut my sashings the same size. So we're going to put our sashing out here. Now, because these are on the bias, they may get a little wonky, so your sashing is really going to stabilize your block for you. So what I do when I put a sashing on is I make sure that my sashing is always on the top. And see how this is just a hair longer right here? What I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to put this bigger part on the bottom, and the feed dogs are going to take in more fabric, and it's just going to make that fit. So watch how this happens. I'm going to go right on here, and I'm just going to sew along, and I kind of keep a hold of that top sashing, and it just matches up. So here, let me press this open so you can see how you saw the little difference between the little points. So then see how you lose your little points right here? But that just doesn't bother me. I just think that works out really great, and it doesn't bother me at all. And our sashing now fits up perfectly. So then you're just going to sew a row where you sew a sashing in between each row like this. You're going to go along. And we've got 4 across here with our sashing. Now this piece is just one straight piece of 2.5, that 2.5 inch sashing. And then again, every row is just going to have that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 by 5, that's 20 blocks. And let me see, what size does this quilt make? It's a 65 by 78. And so it's a pretty good size quilt, and it's a lot of fun. And I just think it takes that granny square that traditionally has felt really labor intensive and just makes quick work of it, and it makes it easy and fun. So I'm calling it Turnabout Granny because we took those squares, we put them together, we cut them, we turned them about, and sewed it back together to make our granny square. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.